All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Gladson. I'm the state attorney here in the 5th Judicial Circuit. There's several reasons why I thought it was important to hold this press conference this morning. First, I want to update everybody on a significant trial that we had last week in Lake County. Next, I want to just point out, if this wasn't already clear, Lake County has zero tolerance for human trafficking. And the prosecutors in this circuit and the police officers at Eustis PD and the sheriff's office will do anything and everything they can to protect victims of human trafficking. And I want to point out, too, that human trafficking, and everybody kind of has an idea of what that means in your mind. We often think of something extremely complicated and very complex. But in Florida, the legislature has made it extremely tough on those that traffic in children. And that's what we're going to talk about today, a particular case where that happened. Finally, I want to empower victims to know that in this state, we take their safety seriously. There are all kinds of services, whether it's housing placement, relocation services, victim advocacy services for victims of human trafficking. And it's not just if you're a child, it's adults as well. I finally want to remind everybody, and I hope everybody's listening, if you are here unlawfully in the United States, there are worse things than just getting deported. If you commit a serious crime, you are going to go to prison first. You're not going to find yourself just deported on a plane back to some other country. In this case, there will be no deportation because the case I'm going to talk to you about today, the defendant was sentenced to life in prison. With me here today are several familiar faces, some of whom will have an opportunity to address some of the topics and answer questions as we go forward this morning. From my office, we have Assistant State Attorney Eddie Moffitt, who's standing over here. He was the lead prosecutor who tried this case. With us also up front is Assistant State Attorney Katie Cosden, who was second chair, and they're the ones who had this trial, which the verdict came within an hour. And I think it's a testament to the evidence and the cooperation that they had with the Eustis Police Department and all the law enforcement agencies here. Also to my left, I have Chief Craig Capri and Detective Wayne Perry from the Eustis Police Department. They're the ones who are going to know the most about the specifics of the case. Under the chief's leadership, Eustis PD did an excellent job, and I just want to thank Detective Perry for the work that he did on this case. There are other City of Eustis officials here. Thank you for coming. We do appreciate it. It means a lot to everybody to know that your police department is supported. To my right, I have Attorney General James Uthmeier, who is the chair of the Statewide Council on Human Trafficking, a council upon which I proudly sit, and a tireless advocate for protecting victims of human trafficking and seeking to prosecute human traffickers. Also to my right, Major Todd English from the Lake County Sheriff's Office, whose agency assisted, thank you Major English, assisted in gathering evidence so the state could put on this case. I'll tell you a little bit about it. In July of 2024, Eustis PD responded to a 911 hang-up. And if you're a law enforcement officer and you get a 911 hang-up, you truly don't know what you're going into. You have to have all of your senses on alert because you don't know what it's going to be. So they're canvassing the area, Eustis officers, and they encounter a woman who seems distraught. And they approach her and talk to her, and they realize that something's happened. And she starts to give a statement about how she was just in an apartment, and someone in that apartment had a gun, had raped her, threatened her. So Eustis PD locates the apartment. The officers take her somewhere, get a statement, and they try to make contact with the person that we're going to talk about today, whose name is Jose Gomez. So they locate Jose Gomez in the apartment. He's holed up. He won't come out. They can't get him to come out for a while, but they work pretty hard, and eventually they do get him out. And they arrest him for 1 count of sexual battery, 1 count of false imprisonment, and resisting without violence. At the time, the victim, and this is a theme that often happens with children who are the victims of sex trafficking, misrepresented her age. And at the time, she indicated that she was in fact an adult. Later, upon further investigation, we would learn that she was much younger. So after she provides a statement, they interview the defendant, who also gives a statement. Then we get a search warrant to extract the phone of this individual. And I'll tell you, there are going to be other cases that are spin-offs from this particular investigation, and that's because of the work that the law enforcement agencies did on the case. So they do some extractions, and they realize first that the text messages between the defendant and the victim confirmed her story. They also confirm with DNA, which is extremely critical in every case that we can get it. They looked at some of those searches and realized the defendant had been searching for things like young girls, sex for first time, little teenage girls having sex for first time. These are constant searches that were done. 13-year-old first time, I won't say it, teenagers, same thing. So there's lots of text messages that indicate that this wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate criminal who was seeking to prey on children. And when you look at the Florida statutes and you look at human trafficking and you look at the way the legislature has spelled it out, the primary purpose is to protect children who are being trafficked. Another thing that I think everybody should understand, don't think of human trafficking as a extremely organized. It can be a smaller criminal scheme. If you're a buyer or if you're a seller, if you just think you're going to connect with a pimp and in this case, and it's awful, but he basically bought a girl for an hour to do whatever he wanted with, we're going to treat you as if you're the person who organized it. And that's why this guy got a life sentence. The legislature's made it clear. If you traffic in a child for sex, it's a mandatory life sentence. After, I think I said it earlier, after identifying her actual age, we changed the charges from sexual battery to lewd and lascivious battery upon a child and human trafficking because of her age. What that has done, this conviction, aside from give evidence to law enforcement to look for other types of crimes and other spin-offs, it has given him the distinction, Mr. Gomez, of being the 121st person that we've sent to prison for life in this circuit since I took office. He also adds to the distinction of the Fifth Circuit being, or leading the state in prison admissions in 2025. And if you think about that, think about it in terms of our size. We're not the largest circuit, we're not the smallest circuit. But because of our cooperation with our law enforcement agencies, because of the hard work and the excellent work that they do, they put together good cases. Add to that the prosecutors in my office who work extremely hard every single day to ensure public safety, and you've got a recipe for success. So here to talk a little bit more about this case with me is Chief Capri from the Eustis Police Department, and from there I will turn it over to General Uthmeier.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning. What else can I say? This was a horrific event involving a juvenile. This sexual predator, Mr. Gomez is a sexual predator. Let's make no mistake about that. This victim was very young, and those who have daughters out there would understand that. Be involved in your kids' lives. Watch what's going on. Watch their social media accounts. Unfortunately, this is happening all over, and we got to put a stop to it. And in this circuit, I can tell you right now, this case was solved because of one thing: teamwork. Working together between the sheriff's office, the state attorney's office. Everybody here works very well together. We're constantly talking daily, not just when things are bad, but when things are good. We communicate with each other so we can know when we have incidents like this. Everybody works together, no egos involved, and we just want justice for these victims. And this, like I said, this case, my detectives, I'm proud of my agency. I'm proud of working with the sheriff's office, the state attorney's office. It's it's just, I can't describe in words what this means for our community. We got to protect the most vulnerable, our children out here. This technology keeps getting better and better. Law enforcement always is a step or two behind to try to keep up with it. So we have to continually work hard to take every case seriously. You know, we went here on a 911 call not expecting what we ended up coming out with. You know, a sexual battery case involving, a little lascivious involving a juvenile, and then spinning off into other cases, and so on and so on. But we prevented probably other victims by doing a great job. So I can't echo again the great work that was done here. So very proud to be a part of this law enforcement community here in Lake County. Citizens of Lake County, you have a top-notch law enforcement team here with all the agencies working together. This time I'll turn it over to the General. Say a few words.
An illegal alien raped and trafficked a child, a little girl. An illegal alien raped and trafficked a little girl. Just appreciate this. We're seeing these stories everywhere now. Today it's Florida, yesterday Massachusetts, tons of examples across the country. But everybody back behind the cameras, understand it. An illegal alien raped and trafficked a little girl. These aren't just stories, these are tragedies. These are horrific, grotesque events that keep happening. And they're happening because of the open border policies that were in existence. This monster should not have been in this country. He should not have been here. This crime should not have occurred. This victim should not have had to go through this terrible tragedy. Now, we're detaining and deporting across the state, but as the state attorney said, this guy's not going anywhere. He's going to stay right here. We're going to know where he is. He will be behind bars for the rest of his life, and that prison cell will be far too nice a place for this individual. But it's time that everybody work together to combat illegal immigration and shut down the border for once and for all. This is not a left or right issue. This is not a Republican-Democrat issue. This is rule of law. It is protecting our kids from these tragic situations. How many people have to be victimized like this before everyone will get together and realize that if we are going to be a sovereign country, if we are going to protect our families and our kids, we must have rule of law. We must have a secure border, and we must ensure that people are here legally. I want to thank the state attorney and law enforcement for rising to the occasion again and stepping in to identify this tragic story and to put this guy away for a long time. As Attorney General, it is an honor to work with and support you guys every single day. I've got your back. Whatever you guys need, we're here. We've got to keep Florida the safest state in the country to raise a family. It begins with these guys right here. But again, an illegal alien raped and trafficked a child. When you're thinking today, when you're praying today, just think about this victim. How many more people have to go through this? Thank you.
Thank you, General. All right, this time I'm going to open up for questions if anybody has any.
I'd like to know if the defendant in this case had a criminal history or was his first arrested.
So, as far as we know, this was his first arrest.
What was his visa for, and how long ago did it expire?
My understanding of the visa is it had expired 4 years ago, and it was a visa that allowed, it's a temporary work status, like a migrant seasonal visa. Yes?
More have been done to try to find this man before he committed this crime?
Well, of course, and as the general said, I mean, this is one of those, it's a very easy but-for test. But for him not being here legally, this victim would not be a victim again. But I think it's much more complex, and it's hard to, there's so many moving parts when it comes to illegal aliens and human smuggling and human trafficking, that yes, of course, some, more things could have been done. But if you're off the radar and no one's looking, which is I think what happened, you're kind of free to do what you want, and that's the kind of situation we have to stop.
You indicated there might be more victims of this man. Do you know how many might be out there?
I have an idea, but I prefer to not share it. I think the chief and I talked earlier about not giving too many details about what might come, but it was a fruitful investigation.
Still active, too.
Still active.
We're still active.
Yes, sir.
Can I say something, State Attorney?
Absolutely.
To the question before, should more have been done to get this guy? Yes, absolutely. We had a federal government that was arguing preemption, saying this is not the prerogative of states, this is the federal government's job, and we're just going to abdicate all responsibility and do nothing. That's not happening anymore. We are detaining, we're deporting, we're delivering for the American people now. We've got a federal government that's deputizing all of our state law enforcement. We're doing raids up and down the state. And the reality is you don't know which of these people is going to be that monster. You don't know. It's not just a little old lady on her way to church. That's what the left wants you to think. They want you to think this is about love and humanity. Today, this is not about love and humanity. This is a barbaric, horrific event. This can be described by nothing other than evil. This is evil. And that's why we, as law enforcement, we as a country, we have a duty to work together to enforce rule of law. And that means detain and deport.
Attorney General, just while you're up there, a couple of weeks ago, a bunch of sheriffs had a meeting and talked about in this immigration push, in this push to get people out, immigrants are being concentrated at some certain jails throughout the state, and those jails are now worried about their capacity. So I'm wondering if those concerns have been brought to your attention, if you're working with the governor, if you're working with ICE, what is
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, look, we're going to have capacity concerns. Jails are filling up. We're also dealing with some regulations that require that certain people be housed in different areas. We're working with the federal government to address these things. We're looking at additional space, additional places for incarceration. We're working on a plan that we'll be presenting to the Immigration Board at the state level very soon, and we'll have some additional announcements. But for now, we can accommodate the people that we're detaining. We do need to find more bed space, and that'll be coming in short order.
What happened in the previous administration, or what's changed now that allows you guys to, that would have made a difference in this case, for instance? So you brought up more, should have been done previously, but it seems like he wasn't on the radar for local law.
There have been dozens of cases of the recent past years under the Biden and Obama administrations where illegal immigrants commit these heinous crimes. They commit sexual assault, they commit murder, they commit these crimes on the elderly, on kids. And in many of these cases, when you look at the criminal record, these defendants were in and out of the criminal justice system. They would be handed over to the feds and let right back out the back door onto the streets, and they would reoffend again and again. That is not happening anymore. We didn't need new laws on the book. The Trump administration, they didn't need Congress to pass a new law. They just started enforcing law that is already on the books. So we're working hand in hand with Homeland Security and ICE. Florida's been leading the way. We've got more of these 287G certifications, which is a federal statutory authority that allows our state law enforcement to assist the federal government. And we're busting as many guys as we can. We'll keep working hard. We'll take advantage of every minute while we have a cooperative federal government that wants to enforce the law.
Attorney General, last year or 2 years ago, might not quite be on the human trafficking level, but there was a major investigation here in Lake County involving a big cockfighting ring that involved a number of illegal immigrants. The state, to our understanding, took that case over, and so far as we can tell, nothing has happened with that case. Has that something that's been on your radar? Do you have any updates on what happened?
I will have to look into the case. I'm here month 3 on the job, and you know, illegal immigration, human trafficking have certainly been top priorities, but I don't like the idea of cockfighting in the state. I don't, especially with egg prices today, I don't think we need to be supporting that type of activity. So I'll look into it, and we'll crack down, and if illegal immigrants are breaking the law, again, we will get them, we will find them. People like this guy we're talking about today, we will search every inch of this state to find you. And we will ensure that you go away for the rest of your life. And if we've got authority under state law to seek the death penalty, we will do so.
Chief Capri, I know you mentioned that you're not going to be talking much about the spin-off cases.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was wondering about if you have your eye on who might have dealt with this role initially, this kind of seems to have
Well,
and how would you find out the next
it's an active investigation. Like I said, I can't comment on some other things moving forward, but sometimes you got to these crimes sometimes are just not out there. You have to actually find them. We got lucky on this one, to be honest. We got really lucky. She called 911. We were able to find her and talk to her. But it was luck initially, but then it was hard work to put it together. It was very complex. It's not, these cases are simple, but you got to make sure you have that investigated so it's airtight. I mean, like you said, it went to trial, and the jury deliberated for less than an hour and came back with a conviction. So zero tolerance for this type of activity. This is a sexual predator. And sexual offenders and sexual predators in your neighborhoods, we need to find these people and remove them and monitor them and make their life miserable and protect our kids. It's real simple. When you keep it simple like that, protect our kids from these barbaric, savage animals. And that's what they are.
I think the news release mentioned she was found at a market, or met this guy at a market.
I can't hear. I'm sorry. A market?
Yeah, the news release that Chief got sent out yesterday mentioned that this woman said she was a girl.
Yes.
Met this guy at a market.
Yeah, it was a market, like a store that has like food. Yeah, food market. And a laundromat there, yeah. It doesn't matter where the location is. It could be anywhere. These things can happen anywhere, anywhere in our country. And we need to be able to, as law enforcement, take every allegation serious until you can prove it's not. So you got to follow through on all this stuff. And we do that. We whatever it costs, whatever it takes, we're going to protect our children. I can tell you that right now. That I can guarantee you.
Chief, you say you got lucky. What direction do you think this would have gone had you not gotten lucky?
Well, somebody calls 911. What if we just didn't run into her? What if we went to the call and we couldn't find anybody? So our guys just don't drive by at 30 miles an hour and say, oh, nothing here. We get out of the car. We investigate. It goes back to the individual officer dedicated to his community to make sure, I'm going to see this through and make sure that I clear this call, and was able to do some searching and found her and was able to take, are you okay? Yes, and ask the right questions and determine what, do good police work to initially start the case. Then you bring the team in, detectives, other agencies, state attorney's office. Everybody, when we have a case like this, gets together immediately, and we start working it together. And that's something that doesn't happen in a lot of jurisdictions around the country or around the state. I can tell you here, everybody works like one team. There's no egos. Nobody cares who gets the credit. We want to get justice for our victims. We want to make sure people are safe in our communities. Lake County is probably by far one of the safest communities in the country. I can tell you right now. I see it every day. I've been in some rough places in this country. This is paradise here. It really is. And these citizens are blessed to have dedicated law enforcement officials and officers that just want to do nothing but protect their communities and make sure we're safe here. Any other questions? Yeah.
How long has Gomez been in the Eustis and or Lake County area, and is there any indication of what brought him?
We don't know what brought him here. He's probably been here probably a couple of years. As you can see, a lot of the people have been coming across the border for years, the last 8 years, and how do you determine them? We're not in the, we don't stop people and ask them their status. We come across a case and we're going to investigate it.
But I mean,
Determine.
you dumped the phone and all that. Was
Yeah.
there any indication on what brought him to Eustis and or Lake County?
I think it was for work, to be honest with you. I don't know if anything was about the phone, but I think his visa was for working, migrant work, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what he was here for work. But, these criminals, these predators, a lot of these countries are just dumping them out. And the United States is not a dumping ground for all these third world countries and their criminals. So we got to stop that. People here working hard, doing the right thing, do it legally, no problem. You can't have criminals coming in this country. That's insane. That's the definition of insanity. When you have, sexual predators, murderers. You put the news on every day. You hear around the country what's going on. People get murdered and killed. And it's not just, it's other countries. It's China. It's all these other countries that are coming here. Countries that hate us. The Middle East countries, some of these radical countries out there, they hate us. They want to kill us, and they're coming in here. So we got to do everything we can to stop that, and we will. And it starts with frontline law enforcement, the men and women on the streets that are dealing with this. They're going to be the first ones to catch it, and then we bring the rest of the people in. But we got great support here. We got a great state attorney. Attorney General's been great. The governor's been great. I mean, Florida is a great state to live in because you know what? Stuff gets done, and it gets done quickly when it comes to fighting crime. Thank you.
Attorney General, I have one more question. Just because all this case was in 2024, before you took office and before President Trump took office, DeSantis, and enacted these 287G memorandums, do you think that now so many counties in Florida are enacting them that will help catch these illegal immigrants?
I do. We're detaining and deporting immigrants in the thousands right now. Florida's leading the way. We've got some other states that adopted our kind of blueprint for how we're operating in a coordinated fashion. You know, we've got the best county sheriffs up and down the state. They know what they're doing. We're here to just help them where we can, fill in the gaps. But our state law enforcement, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, our troopers, everybody works together here because we've got one goal. And our goal is put bad guys away. Doesn't sound too hard. What the chief said is right. What the other side is pushing is insanity. Thankfully, we've got a federal government now that's trying to bring some sanity back, and we're going to enforce the law. And I hate to end this, but I got to run before some weather delays a flight. So maybe one more if you. What?
Just a teeny tiny one for the state attorney.
Yep. All right, go ahead.
Clarifying question, you read some horrific messages earlier from the defendant's phone. You said there were texts. Were those texts sent to another person or was it search?
It was a search history. The texts were between the victim and the defendant. And to follow up on that other question, I can tell you firsthand how I've seen the administration's use of the law properly now versus before under the previous administration. I'll tell you how. We have the Turnpike and I have I-75 running through my circuit. For the last 3.5, maybe 4 years, our office has worked with the Florida Highway Patrol and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement trying to interdict human smuggling. And very successfully interdicted, I want to say we had probably 15 or 16 people that were driving individuals in, buses and vans, illegals coming all the way into Florida through the Panhandle, through I-10, down I-75, and we were picking up in Hernando County and in Sumter County. Once they would get arrested and we would charge them, there were times where we had criminal cases pending and the federal government knew we wanted to go forward, and they would snatch them out of the jail and make them unavailable and ship them off to places where we no longer had jurisdiction over them. So that's a huge difference because, as he said, the law has always been there. But now, with cooperation, we can kind of solve some of this. I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. And great questions.